Are you tired of missing sales targets and seeing your team burn out? Well, if that sounds like you, then you're not alone, because 91% of companies say they're on track to miss sales targets this year. Now, that's 9 out of 10, because only 25% of sellers made quota in the first half of the year. So stick around, because in this video, I'm gonna show you how you can flip the script, set sales targets that they're gonna achieve, motivate your sales team with how you set the targets, and revolutionize the way that you're able to meet and exceed your sales forecasts. So stay around, and we're gonna get started right now. I used to think that setting high targets was the key to pushing my team to success. I mean, after all, doesn't everybody just aspire to be better? And then I finally read the book, The Sales Acceleration Formula by Mark Roberge, and then it all hit. I used to try to push my team and make them reach for the stars and make them go forward and figure out how to hit that large quota. And I'll bet a lot of you do that today. But think about how ridiculous that is. The idea that we can actually just turn it on because we feel like it, and we clearly didn't feel like it in the previous quarter or half year or full fiscal year. So that's a super silly way to do this, is if you've missed a $20 million quota, well, let's make it 25. No, we have to find ways that we can play to our team's strengths in order to actually hit and exceed the numbers. I see lots of sales managers and CEOs who are falling into this trap of just simply moving the number up because, well, it's a number on a spreadsheet, right? Why not just add 20% to Johnny's number or 20% to Jane's number? Because that at least makes us look like in the planning stage that we're gonna get there. But it's absolutely not the way that you need to set targets in order to make sure that your team stays motivated and that your team actually has an opportunity to hit them. There are organizations out there that actually take anonymous information like RepView, and they're reporting where all these sellers come in and they report on what's the likelihood or the percentage of the team that actually made quota. So now it's transparent. And the idea of giving an on-target earnings to your sellers while at the same time saying, well, only 20 of you are gonna hit quota, is another problem that we have that demotivates our sales teams. So now that we've established why it's such a problem and that we have to do something about it, let's jump into what you can do about it. So I'm gonna lay out 3 steps that you can take today to start to change the way your sales team feels about your targets and will actually help you hit those large forecasts that I'm sure your company is looking for. So step 1, we have to start with where we are today. You have to identify the individual strengths of each of your team players, because I can tell you right now the thing no one's told you, so this is kind of a secret. 50% of salespeople on the street today do not have the basic skill level in order to succeed in sales. So wait, let me say that again. 50% of sellers don't have the basic skill levels to succeed in sales. Do you know which 50% that is of your team? Probably not. So we need to start today and figure out where we are. And we do an audit or an assessment. And it's critically important to do this early so that we can build any other plans around it so we can be successful. If you're on a road and you say, hey, Johnny, come get in the car with me. Well, Johnny's probably not going to get a car on you, and nobody's going to know whether or not you made it to the place you wanted to go because you never started with a destination in mind. So we need to understand what that roadmap looks like between here and between that fantastic vacation or spot that we're trying to drive our sales team to. So there's 3 things that you can do to get started to assess their individual strengths. First is we need to conduct a sales-specific strengths assessment. Hear that again, sales-specific strengths assessment. Something that assesses the 21 core selling competencies in order to understand what we need to fix, in order to understand where they might sit best and what seat on the bus of our sales team they may properly occupy. Second, we need to review past performance of their current role versus that assessment so that we can understand, do we even have them in the right role? And then the third thing that we can do in order to identify individual strengths is we have to hold one-on-one meetings. And having this enlightenment of where they sit on the 21 core selling competencies, like how are they at consultative selling? How are they at farming? How well do they do value selling? Are they a good hunter? But do they have the skill sets to do those things? When you hold your one-on-one meetings, now you can actually look into the things where they have strengths and weaknesses. So a critical component for step 1 is you must assess their individual strengths and weaknesses. Let's move on to step 2 of how you can set targets that are achievable by your team. Well, the first thing that we need to understand is that you need to set personalized targets. There are too many companies out there that say, well, the quota for my entire sales team is $2 million a year, or $2 million a quarter, or $50,000 a month. That's not how we should be doing this if we truly want to allow people to succeed. We need to set those based upon their strengths instead of a one-size-fits-all goal-setting process. We need goals that challenge each team member but are still achievable. There's this silly thing, and it kind of came out in the day of OKRs, and that was, well, if we hit a percentage of our goal, that's great. Well, we were taught in school when we were children that the highest score you can get is 100, and anything below that is less than 100. So that's not necessarily true. To be fair to our teams, we need to figure out what goal do they need to hit. We're willing to pay their on-target earnings number. So that's the first thing. We have to look at personalized goals based on their skills and their experience. Here are 3 things to get you started on the road to setting personalized goals. First, segment your team. We want to take your team and group the team members based on their strengths and their different types for each segment. Are they closers? Are they lead gen? You can see that distribution sometimes try to happen when we have SDRs or BDRs or BDMs or account executives or account managers. But we can be intentional about actually bringing those groups together where they can support one another. So first thing, even if you just have one position, which is an outside sales position, which is responsible for lead gen to closing, and you have one person that's particularly great at consultative selling, and you have another one who can knock down any door and get in, what if we started to put in a process around team selling? Sales has been an individual pay-to-play sport for way too long, and this might be a way to cure some of those problems that you're having. Second, we must create SMART goals. SMART goals have been around for a long time, and what's interesting about it is I can't even find on the internet who originally started the idea. It's the idea of holding people accountable to the goals that they have. So they ensure that these are tailored to each individual, and we as leadership must hold them accountable. And the next thing that you can do to keep you started on setting those goals is use data analytics. Too often what we actually do is we play things by, our guts. And that's not to say your gut's not right a lot, but that is to say we need to leverage our CRM. And if it didn't happen in the CRM, it didn't happen, because then we can set realistic benchmarks, and you got to make sure that you're measuring forward-looking components. Don't just get to the end of the month and go, you didn't hit your number. Get to the beginning of this month so you can see 3 months down the road as to whether or not they held enough first meetings or discovery calls. So those are 3 things that can get you started on how to set individualized goals. And moving on to step 3, provide ongoing support and feedback. I know what you're saying. You're saying, Ken, we already do that. I'm here to tell you that you probably don't. Because the information that we have and the data we get from sales reps says they're not getting the right kind. Some companies just say, oh, here's your accountabilities in the CRM and we're gonna send out a report. Well, that's not accountability, that's not coaching, and that's not management. Some managers, on the other hand, just wanna tell reps how to get to the next stage in the deal. Problem is they become reliant on the manager because they haven't improved their critical thinking skills. So we have to provide ongoing support and feedback. And here are 3 ways that we can do that. First, scheduled regular check-ins. Bi-weekly, monthly meetings, separate them by the actual thing that you're trying to work on. So don't do pipeline reviews and at the same time try to figure out how to do a call coaching session on something you recorded on Zoom. You can't commingle those and expect somebody to be in play. Because just think about it. If we're talking about my pipeline and it's not full or things aren't going well or they're going great, how much am I going to retain on this actual coaching session that we're doing? So divide up those regular check-ins and be very specific about what you're going to use them for. Next, offer coaching and training. This is an interesting component because sales training does have the highest ROI of almost anything you can invest in, as long as you're patient. Because it takes about 6 months for that stuff to get in place and to start to use it. And the stats say for every $1 spent, you get $2.46 back. And I mean on top of the dollar. So it's a 246% return on your investment. But the other thing, when you're coaching, we have to be able to do this. Don't get off a call and say, Johnny, how'd that go? And then just talk about the deal. Oh, the opportunity was great. The technology they need is this. Oh, the SaaS is this. Oh, we're gonna go here. Oh, our close date is this. Your coaching should be much more around the idea of what did they do from a sales perspective? Hey, when they said this, why didn't you go deeper? When they said this, what else could we have asked in order to get a bigger picture response? When they said this, what could we have done different? It's about coaching to the communication, not coaching about how to move something through the sales process. And last, we create a feedback loop. We have to encourage open communication where they have an opportunity to come back to us and share their feelings and opinions. Here's the difference. You may say, I already have an open door policy, but I'm gonna ask you this question. Does your team really feel heard? So there you have it. By identifying individual strengths, setting personalized targets, and providing ongoing support, you can set sales targets which are achievable by your team, motivate your team to actually go after them and be successful, and create an environment where you have one of the sales cultures that other companies are absolutely jealous of. More importantly, though, you're setting the right targets, and so you can make the financial decisions that need to be made over and over again based upon the success of hitting the metrics. Because just think about the difference between a company who gets 80% of their people to hit target, meaning the entire company actually hits its sales forecast, versus a company that's 20% of their people hit target. The pipeline's just absolute chaos and unpredictable as to when anything's gonna close. Which company is gonna be able to make investments in its people, its supply lines, its resources, its hiring? So it's critically important that we're able to set sales targets that we know will be hit and that we can inspect those with the pipeline. But this is just the beginning. To dive deeper into all sales tactics, strategies, running sales teams, and quite frankly, how to get more deals done, hit that subscribe button. Stay with us on our YouTube channel. And in addition to that, look for us on LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram. We're on your favorite social media, and we're there to help you sell more and stay sales fit.